The NBA draft is the furthest thing from a perfect science, and every year the expectations placed on the rookies based on where they were drafted rarely ever matches up to what they become in actuality. Some youngsters outperform these expectations, proving to be better than everyone thought they would be, while on the flip side, others disappoint by failing to live up to the hype. Obviously, hindsight is always 20/20 regarding topics like this, but now that we're almost halfway through the season, we've seen enough from most of the top picks to get a good enough idea of what kind of players they are. Obviously, they all still have a long way to go in their careers, and a lot can change between now and the day that they stop playing, but today we'll be discussing 4 NBA teams that selected in the lottery or early on in the first round of the 2022 draft that, looking back, may already be regretting the picks that they made. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first team that may be regretting their pick in the 2022 NBA draft already is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who selected Chet Holmgren second overall. Now, right off the bat, I will definitely acknowledge that it is unfair to speak negatively about someone because of an injury that they suffered, which is mostly out of their control, but me including Holmgren on this list doesn't mean that I think Holmgren will be a bust or anything close to it. I am absolutely a huge fan of the versatility that Holmgren brings as a big man who can space the floor with his shooting ability, handle the ball in transition, and block a ton of shots around the rim with impressive defensive instincts. The reason why they may be having regrets is because this is the 3rd year of their rebuild. The team is playing surprisingly well this season, looking ready to make a leap in the near future, but now Chet Holmgren is at least a couple years away from being a consistent contributor at a high level due to the fact that he'll be returning from an injury, and he was a skinny prospect needing to put on muscle already as is, and they just don't have that much time left anymore. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing some unbelievable basketball this season, and he's been able to lead the Thunder to a decent enough record so far, to the point where they're just a game and a half out of the play-in tournament race. Gilgeous-Alexander has been in Oklahoma City for 4 years now, and he's going to want to play on a team that builds something legitimate around him eventually. We saw similar timelines with guards Devin Booker and Zach LaVine, who played for rebuilding teams for years, but their teams were able to build playoff squads around them eventually. Chet's injury, as unfortunate as it is, sets their timeline back further, and Shai's patience may run out because he's playing well enough to lead a team to the big dance, but he doesn't have the help around him to do so. Most of the other top picks are all productive already this season, and you can't help but wonder how the team would be playing if they had one of those other top options in their lineup instead. The next team possibly regretting their selection from this year's draft is the Houston Rockets, who picked next at number 3, selecting Jabari Smith Jr. Again, I want to reiterate that Jabari's inclusion on this list does not mean that I think he's going to be a bust, nor does it mean that I don't believe in him. I'm just not sure if he's going to live up to the hype that comes from being a top 3 pick. For a lot of the pre-draft process, Jabari was actually viewed as the favorite to be the number 1 pick in the draft, as he was labeled as the most well-rounded player available on both ends of the floor, with star talent that can impact offense and defense. When he did slip to 3, it felt like a no-brainer to scoop him up, but almost halfway through the season, he hasn't really shown much quote-unquote star potential, like quite a few other rookies have across the league. I'm not someone who holds inefficiency against rookies, because the fact of the matter is that all rookies, for the most part, start their careers inefficiently as they adjust to the level of talent they are competing against, and Jabari Smith is no different. But throughout these ups and downs, you do need to at least see glimpses of someone who can produce like a star, and I'm just not sure I've seen that out of him. He doesn't have the quickest first step, so he's not much of a shot creator off of the dribble, and a lot of the points that he gets come from spot-up 3-point opportunities or pull-up mid-range jumpers, because he struggles to get to the basket off the dribble. Defensively, he has been very good for a rookie, and overall he's fitting in well enough in the Rockets lineup alongside their playmaking guards, but his ceiling may just be that of a 3-and-D wing. Still very useful, just not necessarily what you swing for in the top 3 of a draft. The next team that may already be regretting their pick in the 2022 NBA draft is the Washington Wizards, who selected Johnny Davis 10th overall. Davis was viewed as one of the best pure scorers in the draft class at the time he was selected, having averaged about 20 points per game in college. He's a natural scorer by nature who showed off the ability to get buckets in a number of different ways, with a feel for the offensive side of the ball that was supposed to be advanced for his age that scouts expected to be able to translate seamlessly to the pro game. Well, fast forward back to the present, and Davis has just 9 appearances for the Wizards on the season, averaging a measly 1 point per contest. An easy counter to this inclusion would be that he just simply hasn't gotten the opportunity at this level yet, and the Wizards were always a tough fit for him because their best player, Bradley Beal, plays the same position that he does. And to that I say you are right. However, he's been spending a lot of his time down in the G League in order to get more in-game minutes and reps, and he hasn't even necessarily been turning any heads down there either, as he's averaging just 12 points per game, shooting the ball a mediocre 40% from the field and 35% from 3. If scoring is the talent he was supposed to bring to the table, then numbers like that just aren't going to cut it, and clearly the Wizards aren't thrilled with what he's shown either, because of how few opportunities he's actually been getting early on in his career for a team that isn't exactly winning much either. And finally, the last team that may be regretting their draft pick already from the 2022 draft is the Chicago Bulls, who selected Dalen Terry 18th overall. Terry may not have been a lottery pick, but he was taken just a few selections later in the first round, where productive talent was definitely still available, but he sticks out as a nothing burger in the middle of it all. The Chicago Bulls are having a disappointing season and are looking for ways that can spark a turnaround, so it's even more disappointing that their first round pick can't help in that regard. Terry has made 13 appearances in games for the Bulls this season, pretty much all in garbage time, scoring less than 1 point per game. He, like Davis, has spent a lot of his time down in the G League in order to get minutes in games, and he too is not necessarily turning any heads down there either. He's averaging about 13 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists per game in the G League, which isn't bad by any means, but if you're trying to establish yourself as an NBA caliber player, that's not the kind of production that gets you legitimate opportunities at the next level. He's someone who plays with a ton of energy when he's out on the floor, but in terms of where he's at skill-wise, he has a long way to go. Ideally, the Bulls would have liked to have drafted someone that could play some sort of role, but that's just not the case, as Terry is someone they will need to have patience with. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think is regretting their pick the most this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.